Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Um, as I quickly mentioned before, I'm jumping on here now to talk about getting started or maybe getting restarted with eating healthy food. And and yeah, so I just wanted to talk about when I mentioned the other day, that we our food choice is our friend, and listening to our body is really important with the feedback that it's giving us. It's all very well, but what types of foods should we be eating? And that's sort of the purpose of why I'm on here today. And yeah, firstly, that there is so much dietary advice that's like a bit conflicting out there. And so I understand, it's kind of confusing where to start. And often some people's diet is fantastic for them. It may not be fantastic for us. The same thing, we read something in a magazine or a famous person tells us that they eat in a certain way. And how do we know if that's suitable for us and ourselves? Because the way I believe it and the way I coach is that no one diet is suited to everyone, and we can all learn to listen to our bodies more and understand what it is that our bodies need, because our bodies know what to do with real food when we feed it well. And so that leads me on to the first point, which is eat real food. So the main thing, despite all dietary advice, all of them have one thing in common. So when I say dietary advice, I mean, there's vegetarian, there's paleo, there's keto, there's so many low carb, like so many different types of dietary approaches, which are great for different conditions, different body types, all these things. One thing they have all in common is that it's weaning out the crap and the man-made food. And less sugar and these types of things. So what I always suggest is eating real food when you can. And when I talk about real food, it's food that our bodies know what to do with: vegetables, fruit, real, things that haven't been processed in a factory, and they do not contain a whole lot of numbers and things on the ingredient list, and they're packaged by nature. But first of all, really just keeping an eye out for what is actually in your food product. So if it has an ingredient list, checking the ingredient list. I actually think that's more important than the nutritional guidelines. Not many people know exactly what all of those things are or mean, but if you can check the ingredient list, check, how much sugar is in this. If there's sugar in the first 5 ingredients of a product, then it means it's pretty high in sugar. The majority of it is sugar. And as we know, sugar isn't doing us much good for various reasons. So we want to try and stay away from that. And then there's all the numbers and things that we see, preservatives, additives, flavors, all those things. Our body doesn't really know what to do with those. And the aim here is to stick to food that is as natural as possible. And really, in order to do that, we need to learn to cook more at home. And I think it seems, like this daunting task that needs to be, these amazing recipes and constantly looking for new inspiration and that kind of thing. But really, it's simple. Once we know how, have a few ideas around what types of foods we want to choose to eat, different types of vegetables, eating seasonally, trying different things out at home, and learning sort of the basics maybe of roasting some vegetables, using some spices, that kind of thing. And I'll go into a little bit more of that soon. But the more we are making our own food, the more we actually understand what is in our food, and we are able to nourish ourselves a lot more, versus if we're eating out or packaged food. We don't know what's necessarily been put in that food, how it's been cooked or prepared. And if we are able to prepare our, say, lunches to take to work, then we know what's in the food that's been made at home, and we're much less likely to fall into just giving into our cravings. So say if you're at work and you haven't made a lunch, or you haven't brought something with you, then you can have all the intentions in the world to go and buy a salad and eat a salad. But when work is a little bit stressful, someone's annoyed you, you're really tired, then there's a high chance you're going to go and buy something that you may regret. And this plan of eating really healthy goes out the window when things get stressful or when life happens. So being a little bit organized and taking food with you can be a really helpful thing. Oh my gosh, there's people popping on. Hi, everybody. Thanks for commenting. And so where was I? Yeah, so being prepared and bringing in your own food into work is an amazing thing you can do for sticking to eating really nourishing food. As I say, you know what, thanks Brooke, you know what you're eating, and you're not relying on a cafe down the road or a takeaway joint to feed you or feed your cravings, because that's the other thing. If we're not eating a balanced diet, and if we are just giving into our cravings all the time, then that's just fueling, well, not fueling us, or just like fueling the not so good feelings in our body and draining us of energy. So yeah, important to try and start to cook more at home and start to maybe show a little bit more interest in preparing some meals. What I always do is cook cook a yummy dinner and try and make sure that there's heaps. And you've got to make sure you put it in a container and put it away before you eat the whole lot after dinner. But if you've got leftovers, then you can take it to work the next day, and it's fab because, well, I know some people are a bit funny about like leftovers, but I really like it. It always tastes better the next day. Like I made a dal last night. You might have seen that on my story. And it's the best thing for lunch the next day. It always tastes way better. Flavours even more delish. And so, speaking of that, what types of foods should you actually be cooking? So even, it's like, okay, well, real food, vegetables, this kind of thing. Now that it's coming into the winter months over here in Australia and New Zealand, it is the best thing you can do really is eating warmed food. So, there's a diet that's, the raw food diet, but right now in New Zealand it's far too cold for our bodies to try and digest too much raw food. So if you feel, say for example, like you've got some digestional issues, feel a little bit bloated, and maybe even feeling a little bit flighty and anxious and tend to overthink things, a really good go-to is roasted vegetables. And the reason they're great is because they come from the ground, root vegetables. So kumara, sweet potato, carrot, and even potatoes, beetroot. All of these things are actually energetically grounding foods. And so if you can make a whole batch of those and have that with like lunch, throw in some quinoa, some afterwards, but roast them with spices as well is really good for your digestion, and also really good to keep that digestion, that fire burning in your gut, to help you digest foods a lot easier, as well as feeling a little bit more grounded, a little less sort of anxious and things. I always, like this week I've been craving eating beetroot, and I just found this excellent new way. Side note, if you scrub the beetroot, just keep it whole with the everything, the skin and everything, and put it in the oven wrapped in tin foil with a bit of olive oil and let it bake in there. It's not messy at all, and it doesn't put like bloody stains, like blood looking stains on everything. That's a great tip. And then you keep it in the fridge and you can slice it, you can have that for your lunch. That was a side tip. I'm a bit of a food nerd, and I know a lot about like how to prepare food and stuff, so I thought I'd slip that in there. So really, despite all of the dietary ideas, guidelines, and that kind of thing that you might read about, let's just start with getting back to basics, getting back to going to the farmer's market or a market or supermarket and getting veggies, and trying out maybe a few new veggies. And you can send me a message and say, I bought this vegetable, I've never used it before, what do I do with it? Because I'm a bit of a vegetable freak. And if you can make it your goal to have vegetables in one meal a day, at least, like if you can start there, that would make everything so worthwhile for me, because vegetables can harp on and on, but they can be the hero of your dish, and then you can add things like the flavor component, the yummy other sort of comfort food elements, the protein. It doesn't have to be meat, can be meat, or it can be another source of protein. And so that's sort of the way I focus on my cooking, is that veggies are the main part, and because they are here to nourish us and they bring sunshine energy into our bodies on a cellular level, which I genuinely believe, and our bodies know what to do with it. So there you go. There's some great tips for you. And I just wanted to also mention that as part of my coaching program, it's called Make Your Healthy Happen. And I talk a lot about what foods are best for you. So this is a general blanket thing because it's live, but it's really important to look at your type of lifestyle, your type of body, and various other aspects of your life, and kind of go from there. Like, I think sitting down and actually working with a coach, for example, is a fantastic way to actually become quite aware of your eating habits and maybe where you can improve as well. And I'm super passionate about improving your diet. It's the most practical way to start the way you feel, and everything stems on from there. It did from me. And yeah, it's really fantastic. So if you would like, if you're interested in my program, working with me, send me a message. We can do a discovery session as well. No obligation, just would be really cool to hear from you. So yeah, I hope this has been helpful. Send me a message, and yeah, I'll check in with you again soon. And I'm gonna say goodbye now. Ciao.